champions, champions of Europe finally. History made in Istanbul. The treble complete.
History makers. For the first time ever, an English club have won 4 titles in a row.
Yeah, we lost to bloody Bournemouth. I don't know where to go. Thought someone was coming in then. It wouldn't surprise me. Probably a ghost. The ghost of that performance, because I want to see the back of it. I'm absolutely shell-shocked by the attitudes. I want to go to the very first comment that came in. Thank you very much, Tactical Timeout. It's the passion. That's so what's so alarming about today. It was the passion. There was so. I want to start this stream first of all with the caveat that let's keep it about today. Let's not talk about the season on the whole. I know there's obviously we need to talk about the season on the whole eventually, and we can't ignore problems that are ongoing. But there is a long history of Manchester City evidence that would suggest that we do have these moments in seasons. And we've come back from them, and we've fought back. But, okay, so that's my belief. My belief is that we will come back from this, and we will win this Premier League. That's still my belief. Okay, so long-term issues, I'm going to talk about them shortly. But right now, I want to talk about that game, because that game was an absolute shambles of piss-poor attitudes and passion, like Tactical Timeout said. I completely agree. It was a shocking performance. Who's buying him, mate? Who's buying him? Who's going to spend money on Kyle Walker now? Do you know what I mean? Saudi Arabia club, that's who. I mean, take the money and run, because, I mean, it's not just the... 100% should have done that Ultra HD as well. It's not just the him, it's every single one of them. Nunez and Edison, okay? I can be pleased with those two today. Outside of those two players, name me a City player that you can be like, yeah, he played well. He played well. I know Gvardiol got his goal. He didn't play that well, though. He did not play well. He scored, but I'm sorry, he did not play well. I mean, he had a big hand in their first goal. He should be holding Semenyo much stronger than that, you know? I don't know where to start. I'm absolutely dumbfounded by that result. I can't believe what I've just witnessed. It's shocked me to my core, man. I'm absolutely blagged. I'm confused because of the Arsenal result. You should be coming onto that pitch with such a passionate fire in your belly. There is... This is what I wanted to avoid, is talking about the issues long term. So I will save that for a minute or two away. But right now, I want to talk about Phil Foden. I want to talk about İlkay Gundogan. You know, I want to talk about Erling Haaland a little bit as well, to be honest, because, I mean, I fucking love the guy. He's on the back of my shirt for a reason, man. I fucking love him. I love Erling Haaland, and I love Phil Foden, and I love İlkay Gundogan, but we've got to talk about these players that are just having absolute... I mean, Haaland is not having a bad season, but I see what I mean. I'm just utterly rattled. I am rattled right now. Gundogan, Foden, those are the two names that I wanted to talk about. The most alarming thing about Phil Foden today was the amount of shots that went wayward. That one right at the end that went just past the post. Did he look like he gave a shit once in that game? He was making error after error. And I didn't want to see him throw his arms around or just get annoyed at himself or just even get annoyed at another teammate, which he does too often for me. I think he's always blaming someone else, Phil Foden, and I don't like that. Fine, but at least you show that you care. Being annoyed is an emotion that is a level above any of the emotion that you showed today. Anger. Get angry. Fine. You're playing shit. The team's playing shit. I would rather see them throwing their arms out and spitting their dummies out at each other, because at least it shows they give a shit, because so many of them were just fucking ambling through that performance today like, we're 2-0 down and they don't give a shit. Like, the amount of times I saw Phil Foden not caring, you know, that really upset me, you know, and... You can read these players' body languages because you've seen it before, because you know what they can do. You know when you can tell when they care, because you can just tell. Who can't? It's obvious when they and it was obvious today that they didn't care. You know, the mistakes that were so readily available for Bournemouth to make the most of in that first half. We were all over the place. Nathan Ake having an absolute mare in that first half. Akanji having a mare. I mean, Walker. Shocking. And the one thing that pleased me about Kyle Walker today was when he punched the ball in anger, because that was the first glimpse of someone giving a shit. You know, I can't forgive attitudes like that. There was almost a level of, you can be polite and call it complacent, or you can be realistic and call it bang average arrogance, because that's what that was today. They came on that pitch thinking, we always beat Bournemouth. And as a fan, yeah, we're fans. We can talk like that. I did in my preview. I said we were going to beat them. I fucking regret those words massively right now. I mean, I'd rather lose and go down fighting, and that's what concerned me. And it took until the stoppage time. It took a Gvardiol header with a great cross from Gundogan, who is well out of form. I mean, just that one cross doesn't make everything right again, because there is too many problems for Ilkay Gundogan. But the cross was bang on the money, perfect cross from Gundogan. Gvardiol gets the ball, and it looks like, oh, maybe we could get a point. Should we try? Should we give it a go? And then they start up the ante, and passes start being fired around a little bit crisper. You know, but there was still a threat from Bournemouth. And I also want to give massive respect to Bournemouth, because we didn't just get beaten by a team that hit us on the break, you know, a dirty low block where they're just hanging on in there, clinging on, and just like maybe one counter-attack and they get a goal. Wolves did that. Ipswich did that. You know, they took the game to us, and it's not the first time this has happened this season, where a team, and we as City fans have a rightly so, I think we should be proud of the way we play football. You know, you talk about Arsenal now and the way they used to be back in the Thierry Henry days and Robert Pires days. You talk, how much did they talk about the way they play, the pride that they had in their style of football? You know, they even have songs about it, don't they? We now have that same level of pride, and you can forget the disgusting low block, cheating, time-wasting bullshit that Mikel Arteta loves to do, and it's cost them dearly, and they're falling behind us even worse right now. We are rolling out the red carpet for Liverpool. Both Arsenal and City are doing that right now, but we know what we can do in terms of turning it around, because we've won it 4 years in the row. So the evidence is there for Manchester City fans to have some sense of confidence, at least, that the season is nowhere near over. We might have lost our top spot today. We've gone 2 points behind Liverpool, but we've got to play them twice. Okay, but there wasn't even a case of like we can turn back at the performance today and go, well, we're the only team that tried to play football today. Because we weren't. They tried to play football, and they did a better job of it than we did today. A much better job of it today. They controlled the game at not as many spells as we did. We definitely had more of the ball than they did, but there were spells where their goal was build-up play. It wasn't a sucker punch counter attack. It was slow, methodical build-up play, and then using Kirkez, who gets himself 2 assists. A fantastic left-back performance today from Milos Kirkez. Really, really good. But I mean, is this what we're doing? We're praising bloody Bournemouth now for playing football against us. That's concerning. That is concerning. That I mean, they can turn up and take the game to us quite like that. I'm lost for answers. Jammy, thanks very much for the super chat. Sell Walker and don't start Gundo. Easy as that. What about Foden, mate? You know, I mean, what are we going to do about Haaland missing chances like that at the end? You know, was he injured? I don't know, because he took a nasty whack in the second half. He took a whack in the first half as well. So I know he's in the wars a little bit, but that was a bad miss at the end of the game where he hits the post. You know, anything on target is a goal, because Travers, who's made the initial save, is in the goal. He's almost in the net, isn't he? So anything there, it's 2-2. And I mean, that would have been daylight robbery. Daylight robbery. 2-2. Oh, snap your hand off right now and take a point. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Trying to think of, I thought Doku came on. There's another little positive we can talk about. He came on and created something lively. Nunes was a constant bright spark. There were moments he made the wrong decision, but he offered something, man. He offered something throughout that game. Ederson keeping us in the game. You know, it could have been 2-0 within 10 minutes of the game. Eventually it did become 1-0, and I think that was a deserved goal for Bournemouth to make it 1-0. I think the second goal, yeah, I felt like they deserved it. Second half, they come out and beat us. Like, you know, down that side, Kyle Walker's side again. Right, so you want to talk long term now, because I'm done talking about the game today, because it was disgusting watch. It really was horrible watch. So disappointed, man, so gutted. But long term, what is going on with Pep Guardiola and the injuries of Manchester City? Because you have double bluffed everybody, Manchester City fans and general fans, Bournemouth, we were all thinking we're going to see a bunch of kids on the bench today. We're going to have well, it's not a makeshift starting 11 because we had enough players to field 11 players that should beat Bournemouth. And we did start 11 players that should have beaten Bournemouth but didn't. You know, you look at the bench, you've got Savinho on there, Kevin De Bruyne, who didn't start the game, didn't warm up. Pep sent the substitutes to warm up at the start of the second half. You saw Rico Lewis down there, Savinho, Doku, McAtee, Nico O'Reilly. De Bruyne just sat there with his coat on. So why is he on the bench? What are we doing? What's the point? Give a kid an opportunity to learn, get some experience. What's Kevin De Bruyne offering other than moral support, which could be offered by Kevin De Bruyne? Just put him in normal, everyday clothes. You don't need to dress him up in a Man City kit and pretend he's going to come on. Do you know what I mean? Just let him if he's there for moral support, let him sit there with the squad. He's invited. He's part of the team. He might be injured, but he can sit there, you know, and use his mouth and speak positively and try and be that moral support. But why put him on the bench if you're not even going to bring him on when we're 2-0 down? There was clearly never an intention to bring on Kevin De Bruyne. So what is going on with him? Because the international break, 2 international breaks ago, Pep said he's going to come back after that international break. 2 international breaks later, he's still injured, and now he's coming on as some fucking gesture, some noble token gesture, as some sort of what? What's the point? What's that for? Why is he there? And Savinho should be coming on at 2-0 down. Doku should be coming on earlier than 6 minutes to go. So is he carrying an injury? Then don't put them on the bench, Pep. Is there something else going on? Does Pep believe they should be warriors? Should they be fighting these injuries and playing through them? Does Pep somehow... Because these are the insinuations that I'm hearing from other City fans. This is not my opinion. I do not know what is going on. But the insinuations from City fans who claim to be ITK are suggesting that Pep believes, and some of the statements that he's made recently, believes that these City players are being sent subliminal messages by Pep Guardiola's choice of words, who is suggesting that these players aren't quite as injured as they claim to be, and they should be fighting through these injuries. There's so many areas to start. Where do you start with that? Because that is a major problem if that's the case. If that's true, I don't even know where to begin. First of all, let's start with Pep. How do you know how injured they are? Do you know? Have you got scans that can prove the level of injury? In which case, you're already showing you do not trust your players. If they are lying to you, is that what you're saying? These players are lying to you and they're not as injured as they claim to be. Or, Pep, alternatively, you are asking too much. You know, it's not like you need to knock on Brenda's door for fucking asking for HR. Do you know what I mean? Like, HR need to get involved because the boss is asking these people to come in when they're sick. Do you know what I mean? That's where you're heading towards, Pep. If you're demanding these players play, even though they're injured, you're going to lose the dressing room doing that. There's no two ways about it. Players who are injured and are actually carrying injuries are being told to sit on the bench as some sort of token gesture. This makes me think it's not true. It can't be true. Surely not. Because that's not the Pep Guardiola that we know. He gets it. He's not insane. That's insane. That's insanity. You know, Pep's cleverer than that. You know, if he's trying mind games to lift the spirit of the team, he's doing the opposite for me. And is that why we're seeing the performances and the attitudes that we saw on the pitch today? It's concerning. It really is concerning. Jamie, thanks very much for the super chat. I think that bald motherfucker wanted to lose intentionally. No, I don't agree with that. And no, I don't agree with that at all. I don't think anyone wants to lose intentionally. But I appreciate the super chat, mate. But no, surely not. We don't lose intentionally at this club. But what is the goal then? You know, why not give the players... Is he sending a message to... Because he's not sending a message to Cheeky, because those two are best mates. They get on well with it. I don't get it. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Because we're now talking about... you're hinting, these people who are insinuating that Pep is sending subliminal messages to his players through pre-match press conferences as if he's not man enough to fucking get these players into a room and speak to them face to face with a fucking pair of bollocks between his legs. You're a fucking grown man. You don't need to use the media to send messages to the players. What shit are we talking about here? You know? That's not Pep. That's not Pep. Surely not. Surely not. Come on. And if that's not the case, then what is the problem? Because the players are playing like they have a fucking chip on their shoulder. Do you know what I mean? They're carrying something. Like an attitude problem. So many of them. And I've never looked at Phil Foden for 1 second and thought he doesn't work hard enough. Or his attitude isn't quite right. You know? I've never once thought that about Phil Foden. And I've thought it on more than one occasion this season. More than one. And Gundogan, I don't think his attitude's shit either. I just think that he's playing so badly. So basic stuff from Ilkay Gundogan. It's just bang out of average. It's just so annoying to watch. But some of the attitudes that I have seen, Phil Foden, I mean, the little looks that he give after a shot going wide, it's not good. So I don't know where we're going here, Blues. Come at me in the chat, man. Am I going too harsh here? Am I not going harsh enough? Because I know there's going to be an imbalance now between Manchester City fans. There is going to be the drastic season's over, write it off now, we're not winning anything. You're going to get those City fans now. You're also going to get the City fans that go the other way and say, I'm overly panicking and it's the long-term solution isn't that much to be concerned about. This was an off day. But this followed the Spurs performance, which I did vocalise how I felt about that performance. I felt like the attitudes were below, you know, and I had a few people telling me I was being harsh because they were kids on that pitch. Now, I never picked on Nico O'Reilly or James McAtee, who's not a kid, by the way. James McAtee's not a kid. He's got a year of Premier League experience under his belt, so I think he should be treated like that. You know, he's older than that. He's in his early 20s now. You know, he's the same age as Doku. You know, he's not considered a kid. So, you know, you're only really talking about Nico O'Reilly and Simpson Pussy, whatever you want to call him. Homer. I don't know, man, but what went on that pitch today was a continuation of lacklustre attitudes that obviously result in lacklustre performances. Quality was just void of all quality. Chance creation was a bare minimum from Manchester City today. Very few chances to speak of. And any shots that we did have, I think we ended up with 7 shots at one point with 0 on target. So there's a real lack of quality from some of these players. But where do we go? Where do we go from here now? I see people saying Pep out. I'm not giving up yet. Now that's insane. Pep out is crazy. It's crazy. Crazy to say Pep out right now. And listen, I've been critical of him. You know, I mean, only because of the insinuations though. Alanis, thanks again for your super chat. Lack of players pressing for position. Possibly. Yeah, no threat. I don't know. Part of me is worried that was Phil Foden. He's been pissed off. Is there a certain sense of entitlement? This is the dangerous game you play when you start talking about things like this, though, because we're second guessing what these players are going through in their personal lives. They may have something going on in their personal lives, but for me, I don't give that as an excuse, because I think we should all be man enough to go to Pep Guardiola, knock on his door and say that then. Say, I'm having a tough time. Whether it's you're splitting up with your missus, you're not feeling well, you're just a bit depressed. We all get down once in a while. We all go through spells in our lives where we just don't feel like fucking working. I get it. I understand that. But what you don't do is stay quiet about it and go onto that pitch and carry that attitude or that feeling that you're feeling onto the pitch. You be big enough and man enough to tell Pep, I'm sorry, mate, I'm not feeling up to it. There's something going wrong. And is that what Pep's annoyed about? That there are players coming to them saying, I'm just not feeling right. My personal life is not going on, because there is something going on with Phil Foden. What was that spell? People said he was ill, but it was never once mentioned by Pep Guardiola that he said he's ill. He's not feeling well. One game, 4 games later? How ill is he? He's got the fucking, I don't know, what is it? 4 games later, he was just missing. And then he comes back and he's shown nothing since he's come back. So, I mean, I've very much singled out Phil Foden in this stream. He isn't the only one, by the way, in today's performance in particular. But over the course of the season, Phil Foden and Ilkay Gundogan have really stood out as 2 players that you expect so much more from. So much more. So they're copping for it a little bit today. But I mean, take your pick. You know, you take Núñez out of that squad, and you take Ederson out of that squad today. I think I could have bad words to say about pretty much all of them. I thought Bernardo Silva was just okay. Akanji had a poor game. Distribution from Akanji was really bad. Some of his passes were just given away. Really sloppy stuff. They carved us open, and they're putting the highlights on the screen now, and we just got carved open for that second goal as well. Look at the attitude. Look at the movement of Evan Nielsen. Like the sliding of flying into the box to get on the end of that Kirkes cross. You know? That's a Haaland manoeuvre. Do you know what I mean? You see Haaland do that, just sliding into the box with his big, long Norwegian legs, and then they hit the post as well in the 66th minute, didn't we? And what a miss that was from Smith. The right back coming back in the first effort from Tavernier should have made it 3-0 Bournemouth, and they hit the post. And then the rebound went over the bar, blazed over with an open net. And I mean, we got away with 2-1. 2-1 flattered us. It made it seem like a close game. Like, oh, City just not quite at it. Not quite at it. We got panned. It should have been 3-0. You know, and then somehow a Gvardiol header gives us hope. And more, I think, as much as it gave us hope, it put the frights up Bournemouth. They just fucking... They went back then, and they were really brave until we scored. And they were going for the third goal. And then all of a sudden we get that goal, and it was like Bournemouth sort of like, oh shit, we better get back. And you can understand that. You can forgive Bournemouth for doing that. But we didn't really look like we were scoring. It came corner after corner, was coming in. And I mean, no John Stones on the pitch, so we're not getting any of those last minute goals again. Not that he's the only player that can do it, of course, but the way he's been finding the back of the net right now, mate, it's disappointing. Abdullah, you're a legend. Thanks very much for becoming a Typical City member. Anyone else who'd like to become a Typical City member? I feel like a bit rich asking for anyone to support me today, because I've done nothing but moan, and I feel like I'm in the right. I feel like I have every right to moan about that performance today. I try to find positives, but I'm struggling today. I'm struggling today to find some positives from that game. You know, I really am. But big up, Abdullah. Thanks very much for becoming a Typical City member. Where do we go, chat? Where do we go from here? What do you see as a solution? I know it's selling Walker. I've seen that. I mean, what does that do? What does that do to the 11 that are playing? You know? Okay, Gundogan, give him a rest, drop him, and play who? Because of the injuries that we've got. You know? If Savinho's fit, for me, he should be playing. I feel like he should be playing on the right. I feel like Núñez should be playing. Right now, I would be strongly considering taking Phil Foden and Gundogan out and on the bench. In which case, if Doku's fit, I would play Doku on the left. I would play Savinho on the right. I would play Mateus Núñez and Bernardo Silva in the middle, behind Haaland. And we have no other option but to play Haaland. But that's what I would do. I would take Foden off. I would take Gundogan off, and let them know. You know, what's Pep trying to do by continuing with the problem? Like, they're not playing well. They either need to have a conversation, Pep and these players, or alternatively take them out of the firing line and stick them on the bench, and that will be a punishment. You know, that will be a punishment for them. They will understand that. But are they gonna spit their dummies out? You know, and if we hear anything of that kind from Phil Foden, and I don't think we'd see it from İlkay Gundogan, to be honest, because I don't think he came here expecting to get the minutes he's getting. I think it's just because of De Bruyne's injury that he's getting as many minutes as he is. But in reality, I feel like Gundogan is a very mature, respectable man, and I don't think his level of professionalism would spit his dummy out and start saying things or having a bad attitude in training. I don't think he would do that. I don't want to make guesses about Phil Foden because he is a Manchester City fan. He's a Manchester City fan. And I don't want to start asking the question, has he forgot that? Has he forgot who he supports? Because he's not playing like a Manchester City fan. You know, we know what he can do in terms of quality, but I'm talking about your attitude. You're wearing a City shirt, mate. As a City fan, the honour that you should feel as a Manchester City fan. What a fucking goal that was from Ipswich, just watching the highlights here. Anyway, where do we go with Phil Foden? Because, I mean, if we're talking about his attitude, then I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Phil Foden, because that would be the most disheartening news ever. That one of our own, a Manchester City fan, and a born and bred, Calvin Phillips got sent off, did he? Fucking hell. Should we get him back? Should we get him back? Jesus Christ. No, that was a joke, by the way. But, I mean, he's an absolute disaster walking. He's a disaster on legs, isn't he, Calvin Phillips? But, yeah. Kovacic, how well did he play today? I felt like he was not great. A couple of moments, a little bit weak in the tackle. Rico Lewis as well. I thought he came on as a substitute. Tried to find pockets here and there. I'm just struggling. I'm struggling for positives. I was really pleased with Edison. Really pleased with him. One or two passes in the first half that he gave away that caused a little bit of a problem, but other than that, he kept the game from being humiliating against Bournemouth. It's Bournemouth, and we nearly got battered by Bournemouth. Grealish, when he comes back, is he going to deliver anything? Can he bring a certain level of attitude that ups the quality for Manchester City? Because before his injury, he was working his socks off and playing well. You know, he wasn't scintillating from Jack Grealish, but it certainly was levels above what we saw today. But the problem is he would play left wing, and that would therefore put Nunes in the middle. But Nunes is like a must. What a goal that is as well from Ania for Forest. But yeah, honestly, Nunes is a must-start player, you know. And I mean, I'm sure we heard the City fans last season who were claiming that Matheus Nunes was a panic buy, you know. I mean, he's turning out to be a very, very astute acquisition for Manchester City. Certainly didn't break the bank for him, you know. We sort of made it part of the Tommy Doyle deal going the other way to Wolves, and we paid, what, 40 million for him, really, net, when you include the Tommy Doyle deal, which was 5 million. You know, good bit of business in the end for Manchester City. It felt rushed because it was towards the end of the transfer market. But we could have to do the same again. Matheus Nunes has become not just a guaranteed starter, he's becoming our best player. Rapidly so as well. And we're talking about a short window of time, so we don't want to overblow it. But it's not just his quality that he's offering, because he was delivering quality today. He was putting balls into the box at times that were very, very dangerous. Haaland at the back post, a couple of headers from Haaland that went over the bar. One where he got a side foot onto it and just couldn't quite connect from it. All from Matheus Nunes, coming down that left-hand side. I think he's been, certainly in the last couple of weeks, he's been hands down our best player. So he starts the game for me. But what do we do now in January? Surely this is like go into January, bring in a fresh set of legs. Someone, a bright spark. You know, we've got Echeverri coming in. He could be a lifeline for the attitudes that we've seen in these recent weeks. Like, the recent week, let's not make it plural, because I haven't seen bad attitudes all season. I've just seen it against Spurs, which I sort of brushed under the carpet a little bit. Anyone who watched me in the watchalong will have heard I was very, very critical of certain players' attitudes against Spurs, but I needed to be mindful of the kids. Like, not the kids, or the situation. Nico O'Reilly in particular. You know, but my concern was that, and I said it in that game as well, you can't just turn it on like a light switch. Momentum is a very underappreciated thing in football. You know, in a cup game, you rotate players, you lose the game, and then you expect just to hit the ground running when you get back to Premier League football. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Momentum is a big thing, a psychological factor, because there were first-team players that were playing against Spurs, you know, and we struggled in that game. You know, and I felt like we deserved to lose against Spurs. And I felt like we deserved to lose today. And it should have been more. Spurs' chances, you think about the chances they had in the second half. We had chances at the very end of the game against Spurs, but they should have made it 3 or 4 before we even got, before we even looked like trying to get an equaliser and taking it to penalties. Today was arguably worse. Worse in terms of chances. The open net from Adam Smith. Semenyo was going through on goal. He should have passed that ball to, I think it was Cliver, who was free as a bird. You know, so many opportunities. Really, really disappointing. Warren wants to see 1 or 2 signings in January, big time, and I'm in total agreement. Yeah, Aaron, good to see you, mate. Hope you're good. Don't understand why he didn't play more youths. Yeah, why put these players on just to be pieces of Manchester City coloured furniture on the bench? We might as well just leave the seat. The seat is doing just as much damage to the Bournemouth side as Kevin De Bruyne. Because all De Bruyne is doing is sitting on the seat. So the seat is just as good. This chair could have done a better job. Just stick a fridge there and fill it with drink. It's more use than Kevin De Bruyne was today. Why are you putting him there, Pep? What's the point? Just give the experience to these youngsters. I mean, they would not come on that pitch with an attitude. Kevin De Bruyne didn't have any attitude problem today because he wasn't on the pitch. And the point being is the kids would have probably delivered a higher level of attitude that was void. It was very much missing from today's performance. Really disappointed, man. I'm absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted. And it's the Arsenal result as well. That's what makes it so disheartening. And at one point, where bloody Liverpool were losing, they've eventually gone and won, of course. But they were losing at one point against Brighton, which is a very difficult opponent, who we are facing in 2 weeks' time, or a week's time, actually. Because we've got Sporting Lisbon coming up in the week. Come and join me for the watch long. I will be on attitude watch in that game. I will be very, very interested to see what selection Pep goes with in that game. What bench, interestingly, he goes with as well. I've never had so much interest in a bench in my life. I'm more interested in the starting 11. But now I'm like, there's something going on with why he put those players on the bench. To make what point? What's his point? Is he sending a message? I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it. Clara wants to see Kevin De Bruyne pay cut. I mean, he's on 400 fucking grand a week to sit there. We can't be having a go at Kevin De Bruyne for not playing. I'm having a go at Pep for putting him on the bench. That's my concern. Savinho obviously would have played today. We go 2-0 down with 25 minutes to go, there or thereabouts. I knew Kevin De Bruyne wasn't coming on because of the information that I was hearing before the game. He wasn't warming up. With all the other players, he was the only player that wasn't warming up. He didn't warm up on the touchline either. So I knew Kevin De Bruyne wasn't coming on. So maybe Pep was just thinking of, my thought process at that point was, is he trying to plant Kevin De Bruyne as some sort of fear factor, some sort of figurehead that induces fear into the Bournemouth squad to think, oh shit, Kevin De Bruyne is back. It flopped. If that was Pep's plan, it flopped massively. It didn't work because Bournemouth played out of their skins and rinsed us for the majority of that game. They should have beaten us more than 2-1. Okay, and that's the one point about Kevin De Bruyne. Okay, so what about Doku? He comes on and, yeah, played all right, so maybe he's not injured. Savinho, why is he there? If he's not fit, he would definitely have come onto that pitch with the players that were on the pitch playing as badly as they were. Savinho comes on. Surely. And if not, why not? And why not is the biggest question of the day. The same can be said about Kevin De Bruyne. There is I said it in the watch long, there is a conversation that happened years ago when we drew at home to West Brom and Pep Guardiola, and I haven't heard what Pep said after that game. I will be gobsmacked. Remember when Pep said after the Spurs game as well that that was a fantastic performance? He was glazing over that performance, and he does it. When Pep speaks after a loss, when he talks about how fantastic they are, he's protecting the situation. He is managing that situation and the fact that there could be some very negative headlines, and doesn't want to generate a boost of confidence for our rivals and certainly not harm the confidence of the Manchester City players. But I saw through it, to be honest. That interview that he gave after the Spurs knockout in the Carabao Cup, to call it a fantastic performance was too obvious, because it wasn't fantastic at all by any stretch of the imagination. You might glaze over it and give the little nice little mention for Nico O'Reilly, who put himself about. McAtee was like, all right, you know. But Mateus Nunes, again, hands down man of the match in that game as well. Right, okay, so what are you going to say today, Pep? Because I haven't heard it. Can someone tell me if you've heard it already, what Pep said in the post-match? Because there's no way he comes out and says we played fantastic. Surely Because some of them, I mean, you don't want to hang them out to dry. I don't like the idea of throwing individuals under the bus. If I'm Pep, my guess would be Pep takes the blame today. That would be the next logical step for a manager as astute as Pep Guardiola, as clever as he is. I think that's what he does in the next step. I think he will say, today's on me. I got it tactically wrong, and then brushes over it that way, and then goes behind the scenes where we don't get to see and bollocks some of those players for some of their attitude. Or does he? Does he need to pick their spirits up? Because some of them look like a bollocking might be the last thing they want to hear right now, and they might spit their dummy out. Because whether you like it or not, these are the players we've got now. We've got to get behind them, we've got to support them, and he's got to do the same, and I'm sure he'll be well aware of that. And I think Pep man management is one of the most underrated attributes to his managerial style. He's all about tactics and fantastic passion and the way he just loves the game. You know, his actual management of players' egos and the lack of minutes certain players get. Just look at Matheus Nunes. I keep banging on about it. His season last season was a fucking failure. You know, even as a first season, you know, in terms of minutes, Matheus Nunes didn't get anywhere near enough time to realistically judge the player. You know, and as City fans were immediately writing him off because he wasn't even playing, you know, which is incredibly harsh. But he just kept going. He never gave up, you know. And some of the happiest moments I've seen from these Manchester City players is when Matheus Nunes scores a goal. They all run over to him and make him smile and give him a pat on the back. The team camaraderie around Matheus Nunes specifically is very much, you deserve all of these accolades that you're getting right now. The goals and assists that you are getting for Manchester City, you deserve it because how much you've kept your head down, you've worked hard, even though you're getting nowhere near the starting 11, but now you are and you're getting your just rewards. You know, Matheus Nunes. Fantastic. And that's a good sign for the connection, the cohesive attitudes of these players. That's good. Surely that's a good thing, that they care about one another a little bit. But there are other players that I would argue that, like the likes of Phil Foden, who's not been getting minutes this season. There have been times where he's been fit and been put on the bench. Has he seen his arse? Has he seen his arse and just gone, you know what? I'm not happy with you, Pep. I was last season's player of the year. Why are you not playing me now? You know? If he gets anywhere near that level of attitude, then stick him on deeper on the bench. Do you know what I mean? Get him further on that bench. Put him in the fucking reserves for a week, if that's his attitude. Do you know what I mean? Bollocks, mate. Just because you're not getting game time. Sorry, you got to be in it, like Matheus Nunes, you know? I mean, even Alvarez, who respectfully requested to leave the club to get more game time at Atletico Madrid. But every time he came on that pitch as a substitute, he gave 110%. And that's what we need in this squad. Players that don't get game time, but when they do not give up. They give everything to this Manchester City side. And there are players out there today that just didn't. They just did not do that for me. Gutted. Absolutely gutted. Oh, mate. Kenneth, thanks for the super chat. Get a grip. This is half a team with its best players missing. Props to Bournemouth. They played well. Half a team. We had Edison, Akanji, Ake, Gvardiol, Kovacic, Gundogan, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Erling Haaland, Matheus Nunes. What half a team are you talking about? Savinho was on the bench. Doku was on the bench. Whether they're fit or not, they were fucking there. Do you know what I mean? De Bruyne was there. You can't deny that. Listen, mate. We can talk about the game individually and you can talk about the season. I'm not talking about the season. I'm talking about the immediate problems. The immediate problems are we lost today. We can't just brush over it. You know, we've got to address it. We've got to address it and talk about it, and that's what I'm doing. Okay? So I'm well aware of what's gone on long term and the backlog of evidence of Manchester City who go through these moments like this right now, come through the other side and we win. We eventually get it right, second half of the season, and bang, City just go bang, bang, bang, bang, bang, win, win, win, win, win, and we go and win ourselves a Premier League title. Yeah, I'm well aware of that, but you can't just hang your hat on that and go, oh, well, who gives a shit? We lost. Oh, well, who gives a shit? We always turn up. We always turn up in the second half of the season. Doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? We lost today. Because we're going to win at the end of the season. And I mean, yeah, we can speak like that as the fans, but if the players start thinking about that, they'll get a rude awakening. That you've got to work hard. And one of the hardest things in the world, in any walks of life, is to go again. And we are asking these players to go for a 5th time in a row. It's incredibly difficult. Pep Guardiola has got one of the hardest jobs this year in managing any style of football. Any situational football side like this. To go after 4 years in a row of winning Premier League titles, to do it a 5th time in a row and to motivate the players to do it again is incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult, because you can't tell me that even anyone in this chat would categorically, confidently state that they wouldn't even lower their qualities and their attitudes by 1% after winning it 4 years in a row. It's so difficult to maintain those standards. The level of hunger you would be forgiven for for understanding a Manchester City player is going to be 1% lower, 2% lower here and there, and that difference is monumental in a Premier League season. And I can understand why, but that's a battle for Pep Guardiola. But what I'm also talking about is the management of players that are supposed to be injured but not injured but are injured. What's that? What are we doing? Yeah, and to finish off your super chat, I agree as well. Well played, Bournemouth. They played incredibly well. So yeah, props to them. I agree with you there, Kenneth. But yeah, I have a huge understanding of what's going on in this situation. But yeah, Rose, you're absolutely right there as well. Stop the stupid Pep out, 100%. No, Pep can be criticised. He's not immune to criticism. Neither are any of the Manchester City players. They're all open for criticism. Every single City player is open to criticism. There's no one that should be immune to it, you know. And we can have bad days. What do you think? I would be so concerned if I walked into that dressing room and heard silence. That's my concern. That would be worse than anything. If you just heard a deafening silence, they all go back, get on the bus, and just sulk. You know, that fucking feel sorry for yourselves type attitude. I want to see arguments. It's so important in moments like this. Hash it out. Talk about it. Get angry with one another. Don't get overboard. Obviously, don't start swinging at each other and then start punching each other and shit like that. But you know what I mean? You got to fucking talk about it. Argue. You should have done that. What were you doing today? You need to up your tempo. Blah blah blah. Get on that level. Just, you know, we've got to be. Otherwise, what's the point? If this is the standards now for City fans, that we can just have a day like this and go, oh well. As much as I love looking backwards at our recent history, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. We do need to continue to look forward because, you know, we're effectively saying standing still is okay, is what you're saying. If that's okay and we can just but we always turn up in the second half of the season because standing still is going backwards at the end of the day. So, honestly, yeah, I mean, he wasn't great, LS. Walker was well off it. But, I mean, I know there are certain players that are out there that are not City fan favourites. He is definitely one of them. The one thing I will compliment Kyle Walker on today was he punched the ball. You know, that was a moment of spirit. You know, he gave a shit. He clearly gave a shit, so I can compliment him on that. But yeah, in terms of his actual contribution to the game today, very poor. Defensively, just seemed a little bit lacklustre again, was beaten all too easily by Semenyo. There was a moment where Semenyo misjudged the flight of the ball, and you're thinking, Kyle Walker, mate, you've got 5 yards of space. You're just going to bring this down and send Bernardo Silva down the right wing. He tried to look cool while doing it, which was the most embarrassing thing, where his body language just like, watch this, lads, I'm just going to cushion it to Bernardo Silva with a proper lacklustre body language, and he just like, and it goes out for a throw-in. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing from Kyle Walker today. That moment was in particular, but yeah, we've got Sporting Lisbon coming up next. And that's kind of a good game to have after this because it's a game that will still test you. You're going to go to a hostile environment. You're going to go to an environment where Amorim is going to be wanting to send his players out there to give him a nice farewell. The fans will probably want to give Amorim a farewell. with this probably being one of his final games, maybe the final game. I'm not actually sure when he's scheduled to join Manchester United, but it's going to be a good test for Manchester City, who are third in the Champions League table right now. It's going to be tough. And I think it's a good sort of level. We're not going into Liverpool away. Good fucking hell. Imagine going to Anfield now. Imagine. You know what I mean? Well, it was Sporting Lisbon's that right amount of test. Do you know what I mean? Because these players need a bit of a pick-me-up, a little bit of a confidence boost. I think we can get that against Sporting Lisbon. But we will also be equally tested to make sure it's not just a cakewalk where we're playing some fucking minnows from the lower leagues in a Carabao Cup game where we can pretend we've gotten over it. You know, we need a genuine test now to really prove what we're all about. And Sporting Lisbon and then Brighton, mate. Wow, what a game that's going to be. Away to Brighton, a guaranteed loss. You play like this today, guaranteed loss. We're not beating Brighton if we play like this today. We're not even coming away with a point. But if we turn this around, have a conversation with Pep, speak to one another, talk about it, hash it out, because there's something going on. There is clearly something going on. And I'm fucking sounding like a broken record now. But I mean, I'm not hearing any solutions. I haven't got the solution myself, but I'm turning to you in the chat to see a solution that makes sense. And all I'm seeing is sell Walker. What's that going to do? Like, what's that going to do? Like, yeah, like, that's like a punishment for you. And then what's left? You know what I mean? Like, oh, sell Gundogan. Okay, you're gone as well. All right, then what? Then what? Do you know what I mean? Like, realistic solutions. We need realistic solutions. Like, we can't just sell Walker, sell Gundogan, and then we'll all be all right. Everything will work out once we've done that. How? In what way? Are we going to sort it out by just selling players? No, yeah, I understand you're angry with them, and that would be your punishment for them, to get rid of them and banish them to the depths of hell. Do you know what I mean? But honestly, that's not a solution. Certainly not long term. It might make you feel better for 24 hours to see him leave, but it doesn't fix anything on the pitch today, you know, because Walker and Gundogan, they're not the only ones. There's Phil Foden. I'm not saying anyone should be saying sell Phil Foden, by the way, because that would be ludicrous. But I don't know. And it's not the end of the world. We can definitely turn this around. 100% turn this around. It was just, it shocked me to my core how this game just played out. I thought we'd ride it out in the first half. Half time would come around and Pep would whip them into shape. We'd come out in the second half and everything would be back to normal. 2-0. 2-0 Bournemouth. And it just carried on. It just carried on and got arguably worse. So now it's like, yeah, I'm dying to go away and listen to what Pep Guardiola said in the post-match interview. That's the first thing I'm going to do, is see what Pep said. Because it's what I often do. Because he does have give you little indications to the aura around the team. But my guess, like I said, would be that he takes the blame today to try and deflect away from certain players. But yeah, Ruben Diaz would be nice to come back to today, because I felt like there was gaps all over the place. But we can't just keep doing this. What game are we playing here today to just keep saying, but if we had Rodri, we'd win. But if we had Ruben Diaz, we'd win. And it's like, whoever's not on the pitch is the reason why we didn't win. We can't. Nah. The 11 players that were put onto that pitch to start the game today should have beaten Bournemouth. Definitely. Hands down, man. We should have beaten them comfortably. You know, and what bothered me more than anything today was the fact that we actually started to play a little bit in stoppage time. Why wait until then to turn it on? You know? I'm gutted, mate. I'm absolutely gutted. Especially after the video I made the other day. There's certainly no reason for let's talk about season being over. That's one thing that's got to make, I want to make categorically clear, that we are not writing the season off yet. Come on. We are, 2 points behind Liverpool. We've got to play them twice. We can definitely turn this round. I'm starting to want to neglect the FA Cup a little bit. Circumstances being the reason for that. Injuries, in particular, Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne. Those two being out of this squad is a concern to think we can manage 3 trophies successfully. It's going to be difficult for any side in those situations. Yeah, I would start to think about getting rid of the FA Cup in terms of importance. I hate doing it. I hate doing that in terms of disregarding trophies. But I can't see us going on all three fronts and being able to successfully negotiate week in, week out performances where we may need that week where the FA Cup rolls along and it's the quarter-final weekend for the FA Cup and we don't play. We just get a week off. It could be a vitally important week off where we could really, really enjoy ourselves and go into Premier League games with a fresher, fitter squad that can do more damage than we did today against Bournemouth. But yeah, long-term plans for Manchester City now is, I think Pep needs to get him in. I think it needs to be a team effort. Big team meeting, first thing, probably Monday morning. Take the day off tomorrow, chill out, think about it, absorb the taste, the sour taste of a 2-1 loss, especially after Arsenal have lost the game as well. An opportunity to go 8 points clear, ends up becoming 2 points behind Liverpool instead, which is frustrating, but we can go into Monday, a new day, team in, Pep Guardiola, let's speak, and just argue, just hash it out, and then a big team hug, go out onto that training pitch, work your socks off, get ready for Sporting Lisbon and beat Sporting Lisbon, and then we can start thinking a little bit more positively again about the season long term. But that Brighton game is massive, absolutely massive. And I haven't looked that far ahead in the fixtures to see who Arsenal... They're Chelsea, actually. It'll be Chelsea. So it could be another opportunity. Could be another opportunity for Manchester City to gain on Arsenal. I'm not sure who Liverpool are facing, but I think their fixtures are not great coming up as well. They've got a couple of tough fixtures coming up. But, yeah, it's not the end of the world. It feels doom and gloom today. I feel gutted, and I'm utterly devastated by the performance today from Manchester City. But you know we can come back. You know we can turn this around. And, yeah, if anyone can do it, it's Pep Guardiola. But I think he might need to have a little bit of a think himself. Just go away, take tomorrow off, Pep, go and play some golf. Have a think about what you've done today. Because I think the decisions to put certain players on the bench, I don't get it. I don't get the purpose. You know, and I would love to know why he did it. And I'm praying the interviewer, whoever hosts the interview for Pep Guardiola, has the balls to ask him that question. Why did you put Kevin De Bruyne on the bench today when you clearly had no intention of playing him? Why? What is the purpose? What does that achieve? Same can be said about Savinho. What's the purpose? Why not put Jack Grealish there then? Was he there? Was Jack Grealish even there? No, he wasn't. So I don't see the difference. I don't see the difference. I mean, you might as well have put Rodri there. Or just put Rodri there. Stick him in. Same thing. Like, if he's not going to play, stick Rodri there. That'd put the shits up then. Rodri's found some miraculous fucking ACL recovery treatment that heals in a week. And City have got some magical medical team. I see what that's what I thought. That's what I'm thinking, but it didn't work. That's what I thought. That's the only thing I could think of, and it backfired massively. It didn't work in the slightest. He did, Danny, he did. But we can't just talk about... What about the other 89 minutes and 59 seconds of contribution from İlkay Gundogan? It was a fantastic assist. A cross on the money, Danny. Perfect cross from İlkay Gundogan, and a great header from Gvardiol. I'm not denying that, but we can't ignore the other 89 minutes either because it was really sloppy. I'm looking forward to seeing Oscar Bob. I'm looking forward to seeing Echeverri as well. There's something fresh, you know. I think that could be an interesting introduction to his Manchester City career in a side that looks for that spark. Could he be it? We're asking a lot for a young lad coming from South America to just be our saviour all of a sudden. It's quite a tall order to ask someone to be that guy. Who knows? Maybe he is that guy. With the rumours coming out about Echeverri and the quality and the teams that are still demanding that we give him out on loan, suggests that there are plenty of scouts out there that think Manchester City have signed a bit of a worldie. So the Echeverri news is quite exciting. We'll have to wait and see whether he settles into a Manchester City side. But we certainly can't be expecting him to be our saviour. you know. But can we go into the January transfer market? Samuel Ritchie from Torino, something like that, just to bring a little bit of solidity to the midfield, a little bit more control potentially, and a freshness that is very much needed to this squad. And not also just the attitudes either, just the unfortunate circumstances of injuries. You can't have a go at City for having injured players. You know, that's just unfortunate. But the facts are, there was enough fit players to win that game today, and we didn't. And it was a very, very concerning performance. He's not been playing well lately either, Spiderball. He's actually been playing pretty poo lately, but I know what he's capable of. He's another player for me that I think he is a fantastic player. He's not been the same, Paquetá, since the gambling allegations. I mean, he's dealing with, talk about off-the-field problems, mate. I feel for him. Certainly if it's not even true. With some of the accusations of what he's done, it's shambles, man. If he's not done what he's supposed to have said people are saying he's done, what a career-ruining accusation that's turned out to be. And this is the world we live in nowadays. You can accuse people. Hey, talking to a City fan here with the 115 charges, one accusation can just blow your world apart. One accusation from one fucking moron can change everything. So we all know too well as Manchester City fans how that works out. So Paquetá, I feel for him, mate, especially if it's not true. But yeah, I mean, the best version of Paquetá, who on his day, very capable player, but I think that deal's done. I think we're done with him now. I can't see us going for Paquetá again. And the rumours were 85 million as well, so it wasn't like we were getting a good deal either. That's a lot of money for Paquetá, a lot of money. But yeah, no, I'm gutted today. You're just hoping we can turn it round against Sporting Lisbon. Pep today should have trusted the academy. They would have done a great job today, to be honest. Attitude-wise, you don't know quality, do we? We don't know exactly how well they would have performed. But I would have definitely expected to see a higher level of attitude from certain academy players that would have played today. Is that Pep? Interesting. We could not match the intensity of Bournemouth and we could not stop the long balls. We had to defend deeper and we struggled to create in the build-up. Fair play. Honest. Good. Good. The most alarming thing about that, though, is the honesty is great. But for those City fans that are saying, I need to get a grip, I need to sort it out, Pep Guardiola has just come out and said, we could not match the intensity of Bournemouth. And I need to get a grip. Apparently. Pep Guardiola has just come out and just called them out. He called them out. Good. I think that's a good statement to say. He's not quite come out and said Foden was poor, Gundogan was poor. He's not naming names. He's saying the whole team, and that's exactly what I've been saying in this whole stream. Is the whole team was just lacklustre, bar Edison and Nunes. The whole team, we were not at it. And intensity is another word for poor attitude. If you can't match a mid-table team Premier League fucking Bournemouth side attitude, then we have a bigger problem than just players not playing quite as well. If it's an attitude thing, that's a bigger, much bigger concern for me. And Pep saying what he's saying there, to me, indicates that he will speak to these players as a group, not individually. This is not a case of knocking on the door of Pep Guardiola one at a time, queuing up to get your bollocking. This is get them all in a room and hash it out. And that to me is an interesting statement. Pep on Walker. His last game was with the England national team to reach 100 games. And since then, he could not train one session. Yesterday, he did 6 minutes. It is what it is. He loves that statement, doesn't he, Pep? It is what it is. He always says that. So why is he playing then? So why is he playing? He's made himself look a bit daft by saying that. As much as Pep, I agreed with the first statement, that second statement there, cheers, LS, for those two little minutes meetings you're providing there to Pep Guardiola's interview. But to say that he's not been training well, giving him an excuse, I loved what he said, the first thing. I loved that. We could not match the intensity of Bournemouth. Yeah, good, honest, clear. could not stop the long ball. We had to defend deeper, and we struggled to create in the build-up. Pure, unadulterated honesty from Pep Guardiola. I am in complete agreement with everything he said there. While I don't know the facts behind Kyle Walker and the minutes that he trained at training, I can't agree with him, but apparently he trained for 6 minutes. The fact that you're saying that, Pep, makes me wonder why you picked him. Why did you pick him then? Because they were where's John Stones wasn't? So Stones wasn't even on the bench, was he? So that's why. Then I don't know. Obviously he trusts him over Simpson Pusey, who played against Spurs. Simpson Pusey played today, I think. Did he not? I think Pusey played. Oh no, was he on the bench? I think Simpson Pusey was on the bench. So if he's fit, Kyle Walker looked fit to me today. He looked like fitness didn't seem to be a problem for Walker today because he was running. He was running. So I don't get that statement at all. I don't get. I want to see the whole interview in its entirety from Pep Guardiola, but I also want to see his body language because he gives a lot away. Pep Guardiola with his body language, with his whether his head's up, whether his head's down. Not like bloody Postecoglou, who's fucking every interview. Postecoglou's dropped a biscuit on the floor and he's just like, fuck, I've dropped that biscuit. I'm gonna have to eat this after the interview, but I'm gonna continue having this conversation like this. Just while I stare at the floor. Go and look at any Postecoglou interview, and there is something on the floor that is drastically distracting for Postecoglou. Walker needs to retire. I mean, I still think he's got years to play, but not at City. I think the standard's too high now for Kyle Walker. I think he pushed it quite a bit last season, Kyle Walker, and I thought he got unfairly criticised last season, Kyle Walker, but I think he's getting criticism this season that is hard to defend, and I like to defend City players when they're getting harshly treated because I do feel like sometimes City fans go overboard with their criticism. And Kate, come tell me as well. Tell me in the comments, tell me in the chat if you feel like I'm overly criticising. I've been hard on Phil Foden today. I've been very hard on Phil Foden today, and I feel like he deserves it. But if you disagree, you let me know because I'd be interested to see if there is something you saw from Phil Foden's game today that was worthy of praising, because I didn't see it. I certainly didn't see it, and I'm hoping I've missed something. Yeah, in terms of Walker, last season I thought he was harshly criticised, and I defended him pretty valiantly, to be honest. I was really behind him last season, because I felt like he was asked to do a very difficult job last season of being our creative right winger at times last season. This time, he's in a position which is much more suited to Kyle Walker. He doesn't have to get forward and get down that right wing and whip in crosses. It's never been his game, will never be his game. But Kyle Walker did a reasonable job of it. You think the Newcastle away cross to Bernardo Silva with the little Cruyff finish, Kyle Walker's cross. There was numerous crosses from Kyle Walker that were dangerous. Sheffield United last season, he fucked it, Kyle Walker, to make it 1-1, but he goes up the other end, crosses the ball, Foden miscontrols it, Rodri smashes it in, and we go 2-1. You know, Kyle Walker's cross. There were moments where Kyle Walker showed a bit of quality last season. Moments of lapses of concentration defensively. This season, however, he's not being asked to go forward as much, which is more suited to Kyle Walker. So I'm therefore a happier man. I'm a happier fan, watching Kyle Walker. He should be a happier player because he's doing a job that's more suited. But he's not. He's failing in the jobs that he's normally so assured in. You know? We can't judge Kyle Walker's career based on a one-on-one race against Adama Traore. That guy's absolutely lightning, and Kyle Walker showed that he's clearly not as quick as he used to be. But it's going beyond the race with Adama Traore that we all thought, it's too much to just analyse a one-on-one race with him. He's stupidly quick. It's positional awareness. It's your basics from Kyle Walker. It's almost an arrogance of... He dangles carrots for the wingers at times. Like, yeah, go on. You try and run down that wing, and then when you start sprinting, I'm going to start sprinting and prove to you how much quicker I am than you. And at times he lets them go so far, he barely gets back. You know, it's like either you're being arrogant enough to let them have that amount of space, or you've just completely lost all your defensive awareness and positioning yourself in such a suicidal position to allow these wingers to get in such free positions down the wing. So one or the other is a problem for Kyle Walker. It's like either sort your attitude, mate, and respect the fact that you're an aging player who needs to think a little bit more and position yourself better, or I don't know. I don't know. It's Kyle Walker's definitely dropped levels to a concerning state, as well as Phil Foden and Gundogan. And I mean, I'm just going over a broken record time now, isn't it? I'm just talking the same old shit I've been saying now. So I'm going to call the stream now, but it's really disappointing. Please hit the likes up, help me get up to the 200 likes. We've got 174 likes so far. No, I don't feel like liking anything today, and I'm sure you don't. But cheer me up a little bit, Blues. Help me out. I know some of you might not like what I've had to say today, and I don't like delivering bad news, but it's part and parcel of it. Part and parcel of this. I wouldn't call it a job. Being a YouTuber is not a job. It's not a job. It's not a job. But yeah, it helps me grow, at least on this channel. Gutted. Sporting Lisbon next, and surely we come back and put in a performance, because we could be looking at 3 separate performances in 3 separate tournaments as well, with the Carabao Cup, Premier League, Champions League. You know, following it up with another loss would be... I'm pretty sure we did that last season, didn't we? And we got knocked out by Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. I think we struggled in the Champions League, and then we lost to Wolves in the Premier League as well. I think that was sandwiched in between. So we could just be having one of those blips that we did last season, but no 2 seasons are the same. We can't keep doing that as City fans either. Just like, oh, but we do turn up in the second half of the season. Yeah, maybe we do, and maybe we will again. But it's a risky game to play to just assume that you are, you know, and I'm talking to the players, not you as fans. You as fans have every right to assume that we are, because the evidence is there. I get why you think that as City fans, but the players can't assume that. You've got to work harder to make sure it happens, you know? We really do, really do. Yeah, 2 defeats in a row. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, mate. I'm just hoping it's not 3 with Sporting Lisbon. Ryan, good to see you as well, mate. Yeah. Nothing is guaranteed. You're absolutely right. Hannah, good point. Hopefully this is our rock bottom, because it certainly feels like it. Yeah, that's a good attitude to take. That's the low, and now the only way is up. Let's call it that. Let's go forward now. Move forward with this. I think we'll come back stronger next game, but still today we played like shit. Yeah, totally agree with you, Hannah. Thank you very much for your comment and for watching me in the watch along, as with everyone else who watched me in the watch along. Appreciate it. Big up, Jeff. Yeah, really frustrating. Really frustrating. I appreciate everyone tuning in for this therapy session, bitching and moaning. I've been very negative, and I'm gutted, and I hate it. I hate it. I really do. I feel it. I'm feeling pain right now. It sucks. It really does. But we'll bounce back. We will bounce back, definitely, and we're gonna take this title race to a respectable title race, whether we win it or not. We're not gonna just capitulate and allow Liverpool to run away with it. There's no way we do that. There's no way we do that. Come on. But Blues, thank you very much for joining me today. I've appreciated all your support. You've been fantastic in the chat as usual. Really enjoyed talking to you, even though it's been very negative. A lot of you have called me out, and I appreciate that. I genuinely do. And if I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you. But I respect the fact that some of you are genuinely calling me out, because that's what it's all about. That's what the game is. That's what the game is about, to be spoken about in different ways and seen through different lenses. And it's fantastic to know that there is logical people out there. Even though you're disagreeing with me, some of you, I appreciate the fact that you're disagreeing with me in a respectable way and making your point clear. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care, Blues. And I will see you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.